Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Wednesday special VIP edition. We have everything you ever wanted. China, Putin, Google, Bill Ackman, BlackRock, Apple, and even Kim Kardashian. Believe it or not, we have an amazing show for you today. This song is by a band called Cienfuegos. They're from Panama. This is a song called Life in the Tropics. I absolutely love it. Go give them some love. The link is below. Let's get started. Okay, let's do this. And by the way, shout out to this band. I absolutely love this song. I just suffocated on my own breath. Okay, jokes aside, we have a busy show for you today. Let's get straight into it. So first of all, Vladimir Putin, which would have been a great villain for a Bond movie, actually came out, and believe it or not, this is what he said yesterday. Hey, the United States is trying to force its dictatorship on the rest of the world. It's sacrificing Europe on the altar of that dictatorship, and NATO is the biggest threat to Europe. Now, I don't even know where to begin with this, because if this would have been a Bond movie, actually, and he would have been the villain, we would have to rewrite the script because this is so ridiculous. Nobody would think that this is realistic. Nobody's that not self-aware. I mean, but apparently Mr. Putin is. And here's my 2 cents about it. My opinion might be inaccurate, might be wrong, might be the realness of a madman. My opinion on this. Now, look, I think Putin knows that this is a bunch of horse shit, but here's what he's trying to do. Obviously, it wasn't the US who invaded a sovereign country. It wasn't the US who cut off the energy to Europe. It wasn't the US that imprisoned every possible protester in Russia that tried to even speak up about us. It's not the US who shut down all media in Russia except for, the North Korea style channels that basically, say what the government wants. None of this was done by the US. It's Putin trying to rebuild what he thinks Gorbachev took away from the USSR. Basically, he's trying to rebuild some sort of a version of the USSR. And we all know this. So here's the bottom line here. The only thing that's stopping Putin from actually going after his USSR 2.0 is NATO. The fact is that any NATO country is in a pact with all the other NATO countries. Once Putin steps foot in one of the NATO countries, he's going to get shellacked, and he knows it. So NATO is the only thing that's standing in his path. He doesn't have a lot of options. Now, he's been trying to get rid of NATO for years unsuccessfully. Now he's going for this, I'm going to starve you out of energy, Europe. I'm going to destroy you. And then I'm going to tell you, all you have to do is just break away from NATO, and I'm going to flip the switch on, and I'm going to give you all the gas you need. So this is extortion. This is blackmail. This is bullying. This is actually being a proper Hollywood villain, but in real life. Now let's move on to the second topic. Larry Fink, the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, is now saying that government spending and remote working is what's causing inflation because of lack of productivity. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not. To me, that sounds like a lot of horse shit. I know a lot of people who are very productive working remotely, but also I know the opposite stories. Now, back in Russia, my cousin had a job just up until a few weeks ago where he was working for a big bank. I'm not going to say which, but he was working for a big bank. Now, he was working remotely, what allowed him to actually apply for a different job in another bank far, far away, also remotely. Somehow, this mother flubber actually got the other job as well. So for a period there, for a few months, he was actually working for 2 banks remotely. The freak accident that happened is that somehow, I don't know exactly how, but somehow word got out and both banks actually found out that he was dating both at the same time, and he got fired from both jobs. So, that actually does happen. Again, only in Russia this sort of thing can happen where a guy can get 2 jobs at the same time in 2 separate banks. But for the most part, I call a little bit of bullshit what Mr. Larry Fink is saying here. Again, just my opinion, Mr. Fink, but I think it's a lot of horseshit. I agree with the government spending part of it, but I don't think remote working is what's causing inflation. In fact, when you actually think about it, working remotely might actually reduce inflation because there's less energy consumption, there's less traffic, congestion, there's less spending outside. I mean, there's a lot of different issues we can talk about here, but I honestly can't see it. But again, with these guys, usually there's an angle. So when the guy out of BlackRock is saying that, they're probably playing some angle, which we don't fully understand yet. So wait for it. And speaking of angles, let's talk about Bill Ackman. Now, Bill Ackman went on CNBC and said that the rate should be raised by the Fed right now to 4%. Yes. Now, look, I don't know exactly if Bill Ackman has an angle here or doesn't have an angle here. I tend to agree with him about the 4%. I don't think it's a bad idea. We're pretty close and it makes a lot of sense. However, having said that, if I find out that Bill Ackman is actually short on the market right now, and he's saying that, boy, I'm gonna. And now moving on to another topic, Google CEO Sundar Pichai is actually saying that they're gonna make things more efficient by 20%. Now, my grandfather back in the day served for the Red Army, and in the Red Army, what they actually had is this thing where you would go to prison if you would have said the word retreat. You were not allowed to use the word retreat. So what you had to say is improve positions backwards. I'm not even kidding. Improve positions back. So he accidentally said the word retreat and he went to prison for like 2 weeks, like an army gulag, whatever that was. Now, this is the same thing. What Mr. CEO of Google is saying here is they're going to improve efficiency by 20%. He's basically going to lay off people. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Now, he is within his right to do it, but here's the thing. If Google, the behemoth, this massive blue chip, is thinking about reducing costs by 20%, what does it tell you about the market outlook, the economic outlook for 2023? Think about it. I know exactly what it means, but this isn't a show where I feed you the opinions. I'll let you decide for yourself. Moving on to the next topic. Apple is launching Apple 14 today. And honestly, I don't understand what's the point. I mean, look, this is Apple 13. What would be the difference between the Apple 14 or the 12 or the 11? They all freaking look the same. Getting a text right when I said it. Hold on a second. That's Tim Cook. Sorry, that's Tim Cook. That's Tim Cook. And he's saying, Tom. Now, look, jokes aside, Apple is making terrific products. I have a lot of them, the AirPods, the Apple Watch, the iPad, the phone, right? The ecosystem is amazing. They have a lot of data, but they haven't been innovating for a long time. And this is what happens when you appoint a terrific, probably the world's best chief operating officer, Tim Cook, to be your CEO. Now, look, Apple can go into this milk and cow stage, like they seem to be doing right now, and relaunch the same phone every year and just print money until they actually fall off, or they can identify the problem and see, well, look, we're near the end of the cycle. We have to have the next S-curve. I think if Tim Cook realized this and either steps aside or changes his own DNA and they make the push for the next S-curve, they can actually get out of this trajectory, which right now doesn't look good. Now, they can do it by going for services, for streaming, for healthcare. There's a lot of different options. With their ecosystem, the amount of products they have, the amount of data they have, the amount of resources they have, the amount of money they have, they can actually do it. But they have to make a strategic decision, which Tim Cook has never had to make. Interesting stuff. Now, Kim Kardashian is on the show. Believe it or not, I can't believe I just said her name on my show. She's launching a new private equity. Now, look.
Oh, my God.
What happened to us? What happened to this world where Kim Kardashian is actually launching a private equity? Her? Really? This has to be a joke. This is what we have come to in 2022. Kim Kardashian launching a freaking private equity. I can't believe this is even in the news. And if you know what, let's just move on. I have nothing to say about that. Congratulations, Kim. Good luck with the new fund. One last piece of news before I let you guys go. China is downgraded by Nomura. Nomura is coming out with a downgrade to China's GDP. Now, they're downgraded at 2.7%, which for most countries, 2.7% would be a great number to have. For China, who's kind of grown used to these insane growth numbers, that's really in the toilet. Now, even that 2.7% is probably trash. I think it's fake. I don't believe the numbers coming out of China. And even the numbers that do come out of China are based on the property market, which is an absolute Ponzi scheme, which is about to collapse. Mark my words. Look, 1/3 of their GDP is coming out of their property market, which is absolutely collapsing. There's no two ways about it. People aren't paying mortgages. This whole Ponzi scheme that is the Chinese real estate market is falling apart. All these ghost towns and everything, this shit has to stop at some point. The 2.7%, don't believe it. And even the little of it that is true is absolutely a Ponzi scheme that is collapsing. And that's why I think China is absolutely uninvestable at this point until they fix things like getting rid of the CCP, which I don't see happening anytime soon. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow.